Hey guys, this is FPL Tips and welcome back to another game week review video. So in this video, we'll be looking at all the fixtures that happened throughout the weekend in the Premier League. We'll look at how tactically they set up, how well they played or how bad they played. And we'll also look at the FPL context of certain players and certain teams. So if you're interested in either or, please watch the video till the end and you'll get hopefully some insights and plan out your FPL week better. So we'll straight dive into it without wasting any time. These are the fixtures that happened in game week 23. And first up, we had West Ham versus Chelsea. Then we had Arsenal, Brentford, Crystal Palace versus Brighton, Fulham, Nottingham. And let's just dive into the game one. I think we start, or in fact, we start with the table toppers. Arsenal versus Brentford. You know, it was a big game. It happened to be a one-all. Let's dive in. Something really bad happened with Arsenal. Let's dive into the match preview so that we can really see how it happened. So this is how Arsenal lined up. They lined up in a 4-3-3, or when they move attack, they set up in a certain 3-2-5 situation. But what Brentford did is they counter attacked and completely like balanced it out with the 5-3-2 with Tony and Buemo up top. Now, what happened in during the match? They were very congested, so they were trying to stay low, drop deep, and then counter attack on whenever possible. One great thing I noticed tactically what Brentford did, which really changed the game for them, is on the flanks. Usually, it's a 3v3 when there's White. Let's say there's White, Odegaard, and Saka on the right flank. It's a 3v3 against me, Henry, and Jensen. So that's how it was happening usually. And because Saka has the pace, Odegaard has the vision, they were usually able to make a pass through and over. There would be an overlap, or White would be free, and then there would be a pass. So Saka was making a dummy run. Odegaard would pass it to White. White would whip it in, and White had genuinely a lot of crosses this game. This was potentially happening a lot this game. But what changed for Brentford was they were asking Tony and Buemo to fall back enough that it makes a 4v3 in their favor. So most of the games on the flanks were contained in this way, where there was a 4v3 situation on the flank, and then Arsenal were choking out because they had no option to just put in crosses like a lot of crosses, and it wasn't working out. Although it did work out in the same way, Saka did attempt a cross. It was a beautiful pass from Odegaard. Saka did attempt a cross in the first chance, and then Trossard put it in. Although something that stood out was Odegaard did not have a great game, so he had two shots only from this area, just the two chances created. So something to monitor. He was playing around the same half space that he usually does, so that's something that hasn't changed. But he had less shots. When we check out Martinelli also had a decent game. Not really any chances created. Decent game on the flank. Had three shots from all around the box, but nothing stood out for me. Even for Nketiah, if you look at his map, if I can show Nketiah's map to you guys, only one shot for him, which is a worry because his form has been slightly on and off again. That's the same process. He was underperforming XG by a margin, and that continues. Probably also stating that he is not that good of a finisher or not a good of a player who can overperform his XG or at least match his XG. Something important there. Something I noticed about White, obviously I mentioned this, he had put in a lot of crosses, created two chances, and if we can check how many crosses did he put in, maybe not here, but I mean, you can see the match and you realize that he's whipping in a lot of crosses and he's taking up those positions where he is around this area of the opposition box and he's putting in crosses, and Saka is using him as a dummy a lot. Saka had a decent game, got an assist. Trossard came on and got an assist as well. When you look at the stats, there was not much. I think Arsenal did control the game with a lot of position, but Brentford again had better chances, good XG, especially Tony. If Tony had two, I think, open chances, he he hit the post once and then he hit a shot wide. So he had great chances. But a player that I want to mention going ahead, because Brentford have a double game week, is something to monitor is with Mbuemo for two reasons. He's the one who's very fast on counter attack. He's the one who's first up on the counter attack, even before Tony at times, and he's more stable and he looks more in touch and form. Tony looks slightly off to me in the last three game weeks. If I've been observing, he's not that great. This game week he had a great game. It could be because of the counter-attacking approach Brentford took. But overall, when they have a lot of position, Buemo looks better. Second thing I think is also the yellow card situation where Tony has. He is already on 8 yellow cards, and come till game week 27, if he does get two more yellow cards, he could miss a game. It could happen in 26. It could happen in double game week 27. So I mean, watch out for that. And apart from that, I think Ben Mee is again a player who had a decent game week, and again, you would want to have Ben Mee. He took a shot as well. So yeah, probably Ben Mee when you're looking at buying someone from this team and looking at the double game week. Going back to the fixtures, we had West Ham versus Chelsea, a big game for us as a Chelsea fan, because we could have reduced the gap and had some shot at the European Championship or European Cups. But again, we messed it up big time. We didn't actually. The VAR messed it up big time, if I had to say that, because absolutely bizarre things that happened in the game. A clear handball was not given to Chelsea. I mean, don't even get me started on the fact that it was a clear handball and VAR should have done better. Miles off, even in the Arsenal Brentford. Sorry if I didn't address that, but again, that wasn't a goal by Tony. It shouldn't have stood, and Arsenal might even like lose the league because of this. Because when you look at the odds right now, Arsenal has slightly dropped in terms of winning odds in comparison to City after City's win against Aston Villa. So if City win against Arsenal, I think they go match up on terms of points. If we look at the table, yeah, they match up on points with Arsenal playing a game less. But again, you can't really depend on that. And it was bizarre from VR, really, really bad refereeing. And I think you should really change your referees. I think Lee Mason was the one who did not draw lines against the Arsenal game, and it could cost them the league. I mean, totally bad. And again, coming back to the Chelsea game, 1-1. Chelsea have shown some signs of improvement, but again, I don't think it's a massive improvement. It still was okayish. It was not a great performance. Something that looked better was Felix coming into the team. He made a lot of dummy runs. He made a lot of pseudo runs, and he is looking like a good striker or a floating number 9, as they say it, or if not a cam, but absolute good performance by Felix. I think Fernandez has a good game as well. A player that I want to point out, which might look good on this map with 7.1 rating, absolutely bad defending by Cucurella. He doesn't know when to charge on, when to stop. Even when we conceded the goal against West Ham, he should have pressed the man. He should have he's standing there cluelessly, and he should have made that press or at least marked the runner behind him. He should have made a movement, but he stood there absolutely nowhere. Again, when the ball comes to him, he doesn't know where to put the ball out. He's just very haphazard with it. He doesn't have control over the game as much as, and I really, really wish Chilwell comes back in and is phased back into the team as soon as possible, because we really need it. Again, just I'll just check Felix map for you guys. So he had two chances created, an decent XG about 0.64, and he scored a goal as well. Enzo with a great ball. Something that also, again, Havertz was unlucky. He could have a penalty. He had an offside goal ruled out. So maybe have some patience. But again, he was dropping way too deep, and I don't like it. His runs were not timed. Nothing major from James as well. He was looking overall good. So if you want to look at him, prospect of the double gaming or the blank gaming, you can still look at him. I think he's looking decent and could be an option going ahead. From the West Ham side, I think only Bowen is what stands out to me at this point, and nothing else. Moving fixture by fixture, Crystal Palace Brighton was a game where again points were dropped. Brighton should have won. They had about 23 shots, about four big chances, and a decent XG, 2.3 XG. I think they should have won that game. Again, scores level. One thing that stood out for me, and if I can show you guys as well, is McAllister. So I don't know, but somehow McAllister played as a number 10 in this role, and he had a phenomenal game. He had seven shots. If you look at the box as well, really concise, really in the center of the pitch. Two chances created, an XG of 1.4. Unfortunately, did not come out with a return, but absolute great numbers. So for people who have Mitoma, you stick to Mitoma. Obviously, he's really good. He's in the form of his life. He's doing good. Unfortunately, I had only a shot, but that's fine. That happens. Some games are tough, some are not. But for people who are looking at a Brighton player going into the double game week, potentially 26 and 27, McAllister still could be a guy. So observe him for the next two game weeks, 24 and 25. 25 they don't play. 24 maybe if you're not buying him in 26, observe him in 26. What can happen is if he continues to play in the number 10 role, I think he could be a better option. I've said this before in the past as well. Also because he's on penalties, so that's a massive difference when you're looking at a player who has penalties, putting up such numbers in a performance. When given that role, earlier he was played in the number 6 role. He had decent performance, but in the number 10 role, he's absolute beast. Want to also mention Estupinian, decent game again. Three chances created, one shot as well. So overall, looking really good. I think he had a good game as well, and he's doing good. Next up, we had Fulham versus Nottingham. Nothing much to talk about. Only one mention. I think Mitrovic was very unlucky. He had about seven shots and XG of zero point 0.8. Should have scored in that game. Should have gotten a return, but unfortunately didn't. Apart from that, Nottingham Forest were looking leaky. So they've been grinding results, and even against Leeds, they should have conceded. They've been keeping clean sheets, but again, decent game. I wouldn't expect anything apart from Fulham winning at home. So nothing changes in that perspective. But the next match was something very interesting where everyone, in fact, a lot of the bookies or the predictors expected Tottenham to cruise through a win in this game week. But I think Rogers had different plan. Leicester had a different plan. So 4-1 to Leicester. Three changes, two major changes, I think, which happened to the Leicester side. If I had to put Iheanacho already there, Iheanacho playing is a big, massive, big push up to the team. He does so good. He's so well on the ball. He can control it. He can shoot and makes such dynamic runs. I mean, his range of play is so good. He's a proper number nine. Madison behind him played in a favored role in the number 10 position alongside Tete and Barnes. Tete, let's just come to him. His play, his holding that width and holding that right flank, is he's just carrying that right flank for Leicester at the moment, and he's doing really well. I think Leicester were missing this with the terms of Perez or maybe someone like an Albrighton earlier. I think Tete really fits into the system and is doing phenomenal. Even Madison, he's given the free role, and if you look at the average position, he was probably drifting to the left of Iheanacho, making it sort of a front two when you look at the average position. But again, Madison had a good game, three shots and a goal, two chances created, 0.45 xg. So decent game in my opinion. Even Barnes had a decent game, but the player that again stood out for me was Iheanacho. Hands down, great looking guy, and he's again on the hit of form. So Iheanacho is a certain player. If you have not noticed in the past, he hits form and the period like a prolonged period of form, and that continues for a while. So I think this could be one of those games where he starts his form. Even previous game he played well, so this could be the start of his form. And for people who are looking at him or scouting him, they have okay fixtures in the next two, but 29 they're very likely would have an easy double. Somewhat like Nottingham Forest and a Crystal Palace, and then in 34 also they'll have an easy double playing around the same team. So very likely they have easy doubles going into the future, and on your wild card you might want to double up, if not at least have one player from Leicester's attack. Madison or Iheanacho you could pick. I think there are more spots in the midfield, so Madison becomes a must, given also he's on free kicks, potentially, maybe, we never know, on penalties as well, so that could be a factor. Apart from that, nothing from the Leicester side, but something from the Tottenham side. I already mentioned that Fraser Foster is not the best keeper, and Loris actually made a huge difference to the Tottenham defense. His save making ability is so high that you don't really realize, but certain saves are actually goal stopping saves, and he makes a lot of them for Tottenham. As soon as he's gone, we see a real drop in quality in terms of goalkeeping. Also, that right flank from Tottenham was so bad defensively. Pedro Porro, not good. He had absolute no idea how to track Barnes or how to track Christensen as well. He was really poor in that flank. Tanganga had the worst game of his season at the moment, I think, and he was substituted as for that as well. So really poor performance by the Tottenham defense, especially on the right flank. They were really open there. Even Dyer, even on transition. So one thing I noticed for Tottenham was that when they were trying to play the ball from the back or trying to pass it, they're trying to make it quick switches of one touch, which twice, I think twice or thrice, even the first one even led to the Iheanacho goal, but they had a lot of those chances. They were just trying to force the ball for the first touch pass, and I don't know why. They could have really controlled the game. Formation wise, they had a midfield superiority to Leicester at times. They could have controlled the game in the midfield, but again, wanted to really make it a quick counter-attacking game, which did not work in favor of Tottenham this time. If you want, we can check the stats as well. XG wise, Tottenham again superior, shot wise superior, big chances wise. Sorry, Leicester was superior, and shot wise, big chances and expected goal, Leicester superior. Again, nothing surprising if you look at the shot map as well. Decent shot map for Leicester, and they have most of the shots came from the left flank where Tottenham were weaker. So nothing unexpected from the Leicester side, and Tottenham should really improve. They really need to improve. Pedro Porro can't put on such performances. If he does, again, Emerson Royal will be put into the side back again. So for people who are considering him because of his attacking potential, I don't think you should go there. Even for his attacking potential, he's absolute nothing. He had absolute nothing in this game. So as of now, it's a clean avoid. Kane had a decent game in terms of drop in team and making play, but again, attacking wise, only one shot, two chances created. Nothing much for the FPL people out there. Next up, we had Southampton Wolves. Personally, not a game that I watched. Again, we know that Southampton manager Jones has been sacked, so that was a result of the Southampton game. If you look at it, if we can take a quick look at the Southampton versus Wolves game, when you look at the stats for the Southampton versus Wolves game, yep, here are the stats for the Southampton versus Wolves game. Nothing much in terms of exceptionally putting out numbers. Wolves had an inferior XG, still managed to have two goals, which look like a typical Wolves performance. Wolves have been doing this for a while. One thing that I noticed is as soon as Nuri was subbed off. Bueno came on for everyone who's playing FPL. Really important because Bueno put actually a very good performance. Nuri is preferred in terms of set pieces and everything, but Bueno put gives the stability in terms of defense what they lacked and wanted. So I think going ahead, maybe in Gaming 25, Bueno does start, and you shouldn't worry. You probably play him and take the chance. I don't think it's going to be worth a free transfer or a hit to get in a playing defender instead of Bueno. So yeah, you continue playing him, and that should be okay. Next up, Bournemouth versus Newcastle. Nothing to talk about much. Three possible points for Newcastle. What I have. First, their injury crisis. A lot of injuries happening in their team, so that is affecting their attack. Their attack is in general not really exceptional this season, but it has been declining ever since. Almiron had a decent game and he scored. So for all of the Almiron owners, it was good eventual ending. He did manage to score and get 2 points. Another important thing I noticed about the Newcastle defense, and I think I'll put out something on Instagram to back this data or back this insight as well. Is that I've recently seen them. There are some cracks in their defense. So in the first 16 game weeks of the season, they were a very elite defense. They were not conceding at all. The number of big chances or chances conceded were also very minimal. But if you look at the recent performances, you can see there are certain cracks when they go away from home. And even at home, they've been conceding a lot of chances. They've been bailed out of it, obviously, but the number of chances and big chances conceded by them is increasing. The number of xg conceded by them is increasing. So overall it makes them a very, at this moment we can see cracks in the Newcastle defense. And why I mentioned this is a lot of people will be going and be interested in going double defense for Newcastle, and you might want to look into data and might want to look into the performances in the recent past, which I think could help you make a decision. Maybe not double up, get Trippier. I think Trippier is still essential, but maybe not double up on them. Leeds versus Manchester United, a tackle fest. 23 tackles put into that game, a lot of fouls, a lot of yellow cards, but a poor performance out and out by Manchester United. They could have even lost the game. In terms of stats, I think if you see the Leeds had superiority in terms of stats when you look at possession, Manchester was superior. But Leeds had two big chances straight on the line. Somerville had both those big chances. He missed both of them. I think David has saved one of them, which was a good save. The second one was an open chance which he hit about the bar. Should have been a goal. Even Bruno had a very good big chance 1v1 against Melier, but again he missed out there. So you again not much from the left flank for United in this game. Most of it came from Dallo and from the right flank where Bruno was playing. Something to notice. Rashford was cutting inside and playing more central, so that could be a reason as well. Apart from that, we can look at the player map. I think Bruno had one clear big chance. He should have scored. Great, decent performance overall. Had 4 shots. Looked good. Even Rashford, when you look at his numbers, he was okay and he still managed the goal. So his actually numbers are not that great, but in terms of play, he was very good in terms on the left flank. He was dropping deep and playing more central to link up more play, which could be the requirement of the game. One thing that I noticed was again Leeds were pressing very intense and very high. So you might that the odd possibility where you want to target Leeds might have washed away at this point because they look like a more certainly calming and solidified defense and more stable than previous games. So that could be an additional point you want to watch out for. And possibly the last fixture of the game week that we have as of now is Manchester City versus Villa. So if you watched my preview to the Arsenal versus Manchester City game, you will realize that I did expect uh, Pep to play Bernardo Silva, Gundogan, and De Bruyne together in a team where against us, but I expected it against Arsenal, but it happened against Villa. I wouldn't be surprised if the same exact 11 is played against Arsenal. He put Bernardo Silva into a inverted left back role, and he's possibly even going to use it in the future, which makes me laugh. Where he sold Zinchenko, who is an inverted left back, and now is forcefully making Bernardo Silva play that role. Anyways, it totally worked out for him. Mahrez had a decent game. Haaland had a decent game again. He put in the assist. He could have had the penalty. He gave it to Mahrez. So the news around it is that Haaland is still first choice, but then he just gave it to Mahrez for some reason between the two, and Pep doesn't know either. Second thing important, Haaland does have a high thigh strain, so it is very likely that he might miss out. Although I don't think that's uh, a very high possibility, but there's a small like 30 or 40% possibility that he might come on as a sub in the Arsenal game. Otherwise, he should play. One thing I noticed again, De Bruyne was very in the central zone, did not have a lot of shots. Had I think 0 shots again, 3 chances created, but he was very central. Mahrez was on the flank, but Gundogan was the one who's making a lot of runs. If you look at the shot map as well, yeah, what 4 or 5 shots and chances created zero. But he's making more direct runs alongside Haaland as a second striker, and we expect Gundogan. He's done that in the past as well. So some similar role. For him, Mahrez had a recent game. I think Mahrez was looking good as well in the game, and he's shown his form and he's shown his class. Eventually, he's continuing his form. My only problem is when the Champions League does start, does Mahrez continue to start or not? Is something we want to watch out for. Diaz was taken out for his yellow card, so I don't think any the owners need to worry about it much. And yeah, that was out and all a 3-5 situation again from City. Two major important. I think Mahrez and Grealish look good. Foden, I don't know if he gets an entry directly into the team because Grealish is looking absolutely phenomenal at that flank. He's controlling that flank, so I don't know if Foden can get an direct entry to this team. De Bruyne again very very deep. So if you still own De Bruyne, it's probably a sell for me. It's a hands down sell for me next game week. We gave him time again this week in a double game week. I don't think you should attach yourself to another De Bruyne game week. So you should probably sell him as well. And yeah, that's about it. When you look at the table, the overall table, Arsenal sitting at top still with 51 points. There is a game to go between Manchester City and Arsenal, which happens on Wednesday night. So it's going to be an important game. If City win, they get closer to the title. Arsenal will still have a game in hand, but I think it puts things into favor in terms of Manchester City because we've seen Arsenal choke and drop points eventually in this season, now in the last two games. So that can continue to happen ahead as well. The fixtures are not that great in the end of May and April for Arsenal, so that could be a tough period for them. Liverpool, Everton do play on Monday night, so that is a game that we'll not be reviewing at the moment. We'll review it in the game week after, in the video after we play. We do Arsenal versus Manchester City, so you can watch the review after that. Although it will be a chance for Liverpool to grab some points and rise up the ranks, they can surpass us Chelsea when and reach 32 points. But it was a genuine chance for Chelsea and Liverpool to actually get closer to the European spot. Tottenham, Brighton, Brentford, I think even Newcastle, all of them dropped points. So it was a genuine possibility to go closer to that spot. But again, Chelsea couldn't take much of it. I hope Liverpool possibly can, I think, but it is going to be a tough game because Everton look good under Sean Dyche. Dominic Calvert-Lewin is out, so that could be hampering a lot because I don't think Mope is the best striker in terms of the Sean Dyche style of play. But again, hopefully it does work out for them, and we'll figure it out in the match ahead. But yeah, that's about it. That's the game week review. It's a very elaborate perhaps still very concise in terms of the how many games we covered. So I'll put timestamps below if you want, if you're still not, if you're figuring out by the end of this video, if you still want to go back to a certain segment, I'll put the timestamps below. And if you watched this video till the end, please consider subscribing to the channel. We put in a lot of effort to make this content. We want to continue putting such content out. So yeah, do subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon, and make sure you leave a like on this video so that I get to know that you like this video and you found it useful. This is FPL Tip signing off. Cheers.